Hey guys, Shane McMurray from the Wedding Report. In this episode, I meet with Don. He is the owner of Storytellers. They are a videography and photography company located in Memphis, Tennessee. Check it out. Don, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate you taking the time. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you guys are located. Tell me your website address, all your social media accounts, anything you want to share.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I'm Don Lawler. Storytellers is the name of my company. It's changed a little bit over the years. When I first started out, I was actually, I'd left WHBQ in Memphis. I had an offer to be the production director at ABC New York, and my wife said no.
Yeah,
so what do I do now?
That's a game changer right there.
Yeah, I started a company, and I had been moonlighting for about a year before all this happened. And some of the larger ad agencies in town said, we'll keep you busy. And so I left and I started producing, commercials. And
Nice.
I did that for a long time. At one point in time, it got to a point where I was at the bank for the ad agencies, it felt like. I don't know if you've ever been around the production end of things, but as a creative, they'd come to me and I'd create something, they'd win awards, and my check had come 90 days, 100 days, 120 days later, I'm on the phone. Hey, am I going to get paid for this?
Yeah, right.
And so I started an ad agency, which I sold a few years later to a healthcare company. And they were actually one of my clients. And I became the vice president of marketing for them and managed the marketing for 6 hospitals in the Southeast.
Nice.
And then we were doing really, really good. And all of a sudden someone came in, or my president said, hey, I sold it. I said, sold what? He said, we sold the company to the doctors.
Wow.
And I said, well, okay, what am I going to do?
Right.
Yeah. And so he started a little healthcare information company. And he knew a lot of people. He pulled in, the head of Cereal Pharmaceuticals, head of AOL at the time, and some heavy hitters. And I was like low man on the totem pole, Mm-hmm. But we started an information company that sold a few years later to Humana, and they took it public. But
Gotcha.
But for the most part, I've been broke all my life. Starting artist. that was my success.
Yeah.
Since then, I've started a bunch of little bitty companies, and nothing's really stuck other than the wedding thing. And the way I got into doing that, I was producing a project for PBS at the time. I actually helped a friend who had like Emmy Awards and had done several PBS specials. And so anyway, I was helping her. And then they let me do one on my own. So nice. I was working on that, and a friend asked me to shoot her wedding. This is 1999. I said, wow. No. And she kind of persisted. She was a salesperson. She kept persisting, and finally she talked me into it. And I loved it. I had the absolute best time. I was also, at that time, my little company had started handling companies like FedEx, and we were doing a lot of work for them, some for train heating and air conditioning, and a few other folks. So anyway, but I did it and I loved it. Didn't think anything else of it other than that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had total creative reign, and as an artist, that's really kind of important to me.
For sure.
And, anyway, long story short, her friends called me from her wedding, and I had like 4 weddings the next year. Wow. I kept doing my thing. And then that grew to like, I think 10 or 12 the second year. And I'm still doing my thing. And then 9/11 hits.
Oh.
And I was actually at FX TV at FedEx when plane number 2 hit. Of course, the room's full of TV people and journalists. We all looked at each other and said, damn, we're at war. Yeah. We knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And they locked the place down, and within 2 weeks, we got a letter from Fred, Mr. Smith. All outside vendors were off the payroll, and no more projects, at least for a while. and said, what am I going to do? You know, and,
Yeah.
and I lost the train account. I was handling writing and producing commercials and placing ads for Train at the time. So I lost a bunch of money all in 2 phone calls.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. So by that time, I had been doing some weddings. I jumped on a plane and I went to the convention, the Wedding and Event Videographers Association in Las Vegas. Met some people there. Was just blown away with the talent. I mean, I just, you know, to me, weddings were nothing super special or cool at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I did do that got me the business was I didn't know what a wedding video should look like. So I produced what? A documentary film, which is what I was doing for PBS, you know?
Yeah,
So, and I think that was really when I really realized, you know, that people have stories, they have memories they want to collect. And it's just, I love asking people, you know, their story, you know, and getting and helping them put it on tape.
yeah.
So, and then flash forward to 2008, we started dabbling with photography a little bit. And I love photography since I was 12 years old. My dad gave me my first little Brownie, the family camera, a little Brownie camera.
Hmm.
And so that was at 12, 14. I had a little dark room. He gave me, you know, for a birthday present, gave me a dark room kit. And
Yeah.
started developing film. At 16, I was on the annual staff shooting at high school. And then when I went to college, he gave me $500 as I left to leave Memphis
Wow.
to go to Houston. Said, I wish I could give you more, but son, you're on your own now.
Yeah.
So I went to school in Houston, studied broadcasting, and my advisor got me a job at Sears as a photographer.
Nice.
And so, and I did that until I graduated. And actually, I got a job I was in Houston. I got a job in North Louisiana as a news reporter just before I even graduated.
Wow.
And so I took off and did that.
You've been in film and photography your entire life.
I really have. It's been my whole life. I don't know anything else really other than the sidetracks that I've been able to take.
Yeah,
And,
like advertising and various other pieces of production, right?
It's just it's been a great ride. I'm getting ready to turn 67. I retired officially from television 8 years ago as a
Wow.
GM of a station here in Memphis, and so it's been a fun ride. But it's just been one of those things: doing news, producing commercials, producing training films, and all that from a big, wide audience of or a genre of businesses. I've learned a lot of cool stuff and met some neat people along the way. So it's just
Well, the name then means, I mean, the name is very, you know, it's perfect for you because that's what you've been doing, right? You've been telling stories the whole time, right? Like news stories or whatever it is, or documentaries. So it's perfect.
Even commercials, 30-second stories.
Yeah, you're telling stories in commercials as well, right? So that's great. So right now, you guys you're doing both film and video, right?
Correct.
And what's your website address, Don?
It's storytellersmemphis.com.
Okay. And you guys are mostly focused in Memphis, or do you go around in other parts of Tennessee? And
you know, I used to travel a lot, but after 9/11, it was less and less. Leading up to 9/11, I would take crews with me, you know, and we'd go all over the country and shoot. And then and I started seeing around 99, I could kind of just feel something was going on. I had no idea, but something was going on. And I started hiring the absolute best photographers, the best videographers, the best editors. And I would ask them questions. I'd sit and I'd look over their shoulder, and I was just really trying to figure out how to do this thing. And then I bought my first broadcast camera, you know, big ENG camera.
yeah.
And sure enough, FedEx started sending me a VP somewhere. I was the crew, you know.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So do you focus only on weddings today, or do you do other events?
I focus on that, or have focused on that for almost 20 years now, I guess. That's been my focus. I was really focused on commercials for a long time. Memphis is a hard place to make a living in commercials, so I had to find work outside of Memphis.
Sure, gotcha.
And then a friend of mine from my radio and TV years at WHBQ happened to be at FedEx and got my foot in the door as a producer there. And I think I produced almost 100 films for them over about a 12-year period.
Nice.
So yeah, so I don't know. I've lost your what your question was, but yeah.
No, that's fine. So today you guys focus mostly on weddings, right? Okay. So tell me
I still have a few people call me, and I've been doing little projects on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me how couples find you. Do most of your couples come from referrals? Do you find them? Do they come online? And then what does the process look like when they contact you?
Right. It's changed a lot, particularly since 2008. Before that, going back to 99 to 2001, it was just building relationships. It was a bride liked what I did, showed her friends. They wanted me to do the same thing for them. And then just from being in those events, my calling card was that I was a TV guy, and everybody else was, hey, I think I want to be a videographer one day, and so they respected that, and I treated people professionally and that sort of thing. So that's what got me going, and I held those relationships for a pretty good while. And about 2007, I went into business with someone else, and together we were a sales dynamo. Our first three months, we sold $93,000 in weddings.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's in 2008 when everybody else was sucking wind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we had a different philosophy, and we separated, and it was kind of like went down after that. And it was a combination of the market changed. A lot of kids were coming in with cameras and living at home, and no overhead. Yeah, I had overhead, and it just kind of changed things. But
well, that's the thing. Like when technology changes, becomes easier, smaller package, less expensive, then all of a sudden you get a flood of people that can do that work because
and they understood it, and I really did. I understood, but I didn't want to get my hands dirty getting into the tech, getting into the weeds.
Exactly. So after 08, what are the main reason or the main ways that couples find you guys now? Is it still referrals? They find you online?
My primary way the last few years has still been referrals. I spent an awful lot of time and money trying to learn how to do it online, and frankly, it hasn't worked a whole lot. We have had some. The quality, I'd say, they're great people, but I'm just saying the budgets have been much smaller coming off the internet. And I think that's because of the relationships. Before 2008, I had all of the high-end wedding planners, and we were doing weddings anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 budgets. And now almost everything that I've gotten off the internet has been sub 2,000, mainly around the 1,500 to 2,000 range.
Yeah.
It's
and budgets have just come down in general, right? Since
my help wants more money.
Yeah.
So it's been tough.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say someone contacts you. What's the process look like?
Okay. If I don't get ghosted, and that's been a real problem, that's probably my number one problem right now is ghosting. Okay. I get back with them. I've studied from all of the gurus in the industry as to what to say and what not to say and how to respond quickly. Because this is all I do, I respond very quickly. Yeah. But if you're not, and they're not calling, they want to hit you through Wedding Wire, The Knot, or a random email, something like that. And I'll respond quickly. I'll do it with what the gurus say to do. I was actually a copywriter, being a producer. I wrote award-winning copy. I know how to write. And it's just been kind of hit and miss. So if I could ever figure out the formula for that, I would go for it. It makes sense. You can reach out to a large audience that way. rather than having to wait for a wedding planner to say, "Hey, I got the perfect couple for you,"
Yeah.
But those are the ones still that when they do come, I get great budgets, great couples, great story.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
what happens for the ones that don't ghost you? What does the process look like after they?
Okay. Well, the first thing I do is try and get on a phone call with them and set up a meeting.
Gotcha.
I'll listen to their story, try and get a feel for who they are, what they want to accomplish, and then try and get a meeting. If I get a meeting, I'm going to close 80% off. But it's gotten harder and harder to get those meetings, and I don't know if it's because now I'm the old guy. I've lost my cool factor, or there was a period of time when I went into business with this other guy. He had the cool guy, look and everything, and great looking kid, and everybody, all the girls liked him, and moms liked me. I had the gray hair and the experience, so and it was a winning combination.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that happens to us as we get older, right? We just, we lose our cool
So
factor.
I think that may be part of it. I had heart surgery 2018, and I honestly couldn't do much of anything for a while, and that hurt. And after I went back to the television station, I left in 2010 as a GM. I had lost my connections, and other young people had come in and got those connections and built those relationships. So it's just been a different deal. And and once you retire, you don't really want to do as much. So that's part of my fault.
Yeah. Okay, so so you meet with them. They tell you about the story. What time frame are they generally booking with you prior to the wedding? And then are there any things that you do up to that day, or is it pretty much you get everything together at the beginning, and then you guys, connect a couple weeks before and then meet on the day? How's that?
And that's, it's not the best way, because everybody's pretty much saying to do the high touch, but with the budgets being as small as they are, I can't do as much high touch. So I spend a lot of time doing sales and marketing and that sort of thing, or overseeing projects we've got going. But I don't know, and for a long time, I would give more high touch because they were couples with pretty good sized budgets and that sort of thing. And it takes a little time to develop a story, and I would do something I call the love story, which was kind of a thing from the Weaver days. But I put my spin on it. It's more of a mini documentary, I guess. And of course, the idea there, and I'm honestly thinking about going back to doing that as my door opener, because the price point for it is smaller than a wedding, and it gives a sample of working with me. And it gives me a chance to build a relationship. So I think that's going to be my new secret weapon. I'm going to try it anyway.
All right.
Try and sell that as a product, up front. Kind of like photographers do with engagement shoots, You can go out and take a spin, and it don't cost you $350 versus costing $3,500 or whatever the price is, depending on the market. And this market is not a real high-end market. There's a lot of diversity in Memphis, a lot of industry, very entrepreneurial city. But if you looked at the poverty level, it's really, really, really high. Probably number 2 or 3 in the country. So, so there's a small niche that everybody's trying to get their feet on, and get a hold of. So,
well, that's interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of the industry targets that market, and what they don't realize, and I've been saying this for many years, but there are opportunities in other parts of the market
absolutely,
no one is really thinking about. So, and especially today with all the stuff going on, now is the perfect time to innovate and create things that you can reach down into the market with. I'll give you a great example. I interviewed someone last week that owns the barn in Rome, Georgia. And to get into that event, it's a pretty expensive place, right? To get the full wedding, and it's basically a weekend deal. So, you're looking at 15, 20, 25 and up, $1,000 just to get into the space and do your wedding. But what she did is she said, look, I'm going to do these things called pop-up weddings, where she charges $4,500 starting, and it includes everything, but you only get the space for 4 hours. And so what does that do? That opens up plenty of opportunity for her. She says that's growing like crazy because she's reaching down into the market and trying to find opportunity to build stuff to
Hmm.
grow her business.
That's great. So
And
that's it is a turnkey deal. She's bringing all the vendors in for that.
she's a turnkey deal, includes everything. There's certain things it didn't include, but basically it included everything you would need for a certain number of guests to have your event. So for you, the same thing applies. Maybe it's, creating the love story deal, not necessarily doing the video shoot for their wedding. Create the love story. Everybody loves video today. Video is the most popular thing on
Yeah.
with TikTok and Instagram,
Yeah,
right? I
I
mean,
know.
and YouTube video is the thing that's happening, right? Look what we're doing. We're having an interview and it's a
I
video,
know. I know.
right?
Yeah.
Which I
Who
post
knew?
out as
Who heard
content,
about Zoom 2 weeks or
right?
4 weeks ago?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
um, that's, think about those things. What could you do, right? Because you're right. You know, the reality is that people live paycheck to paycheck for the most part. I think
Right.
I read a stat the other day. It's like 40% of people, live paycheck to paycheck. Most people don't have savings for times of emergencies.
Right.
Um, and people are just living, and the cost of living is going up. Incomes are not, yeah, income is growing, but it's not that substantial when rents are going up way much more, utilities are more, lifestyle creep is coming in, you've got subscriptions to everything. Um, so you have to find things that you can do as a company and reach down into the market and go, oh, what can I do? Can I create a, $500 deal? Can I create a $300 deal, right?
Mhm.
that you can streamline and make efficiently for you
Right.
to make a profit. You still have to make a profit at the end of the day, but
Right.
could you do it, right?
Yeah. Have you heard of Pia Silva?
No.
Oh, you ought to look her up. She's blowing it up out there in the marketing world right now. Her
Awesome.
company is called Worst of All Design.
Okay.
Design company out of, you ought to look her up. She's now contributing writer to Forbes, I believe. But she calls it badass marketing. So yeah, you ought to check her out. She's good. But what you're talking about is finding, and she started out. I mean, she was broke, and came up with a product that she could get in, and it was, she knew she could, with a little experience, she could do it faster and better and all that,
Yep.
and for a price, make a good profit on the front end. And then
Yeah.
they've grown from a $3,000 ad agency to a $30,000 per job ad agency in
Yeah.
just a
Well,
few years.
yeah. You have to find ways to innovate within your business too, right? So you
Yeah.
have to find, like, what can you do as I mean, video photography. There's so much technology out there for photography and video people that it's just incredible how much is out there. Use that technology to streamline your processing, right?
Yeah.
To streamline what it is you do. I know you can still tell your story, but there's technology that could process the videos for you, or they could process the images for you without having to put all this work into it,
Right.
which is killing you, by the way, because labor is time and effort, and labor
Exactly.
and time and effort cost money.
Yeah.
So find ways to streamline.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my heart surgery was a wake up call for me. My time is very valuable now.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm either want to get paid well, or I want to go do something with my grandkids or fish. So
Yeah. 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 I know. I mean, I think today, the stuff we're experiencing today, I think it's going to be another wake up call for people to think about things differently. I mean, as you saw in '08, right, the market changed significantly.
yeah.
Budgets changed significantly. People started thinking about what was important to them from a wedding perspective.
Hmm.
Guest counts changed. This is probably going to be worse than that. And guest counts are going to change significantly. The way people think about gatherings are going to probably change significantly. You said earlier you were working on how to do a virtual wedding, so you're going to be dealing with these types of things. And I don't know. The market has forever changed, honestly. For now, I mean, 10 years from now, we'll probably, things will be more normal or what it was, but
Right.
it'll take a while to get there. But
Yeah. Yeah. I've been this has actually been kind of good. My wife is like, she's a school teacher. I think she's ready to go back to school, and she was ready to retire before
Yeah,
this. But it's been really kind of a good time for me just to think and retool and rebrand. And so I've been really, really, really working
that's
hard on
good.
a complete rebranding, a way of reorganizing, and maybe going back to my roots. I want to keep the weddings going, but get my guys to kind of do the day to
Yeah.
day on that. That's my vision. And then and go back to my ad agency days and basically do little projects or branding for small companies who are frankly going to be in a lot of trouble coming out of this. So
Yeah, I think that's smart, Don, because um, first off, it gets you back to who you are authentically. And then some of the interviews I've been doing, even before this happened, they would say to me that the thing has worked well for them is getting back to their authentic self.
yeah,
And as they started to discover who they were authentically and start to put that out there as a brand, that has actually allowed them to turn the corner.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think getting back to your roots and getting back to your, what you are authentically
Mm.
as a storyteller and a filmmaker, is the perfect thing for you.
Thanks. I appreciate the confirmation there. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? And then
Yeah.
use that. I mean, you're right. There's actually a couple of things I think you could do that are coming out of this situation. One is what you just said. Take your skills and figure out how you can work with other businesses that are going to be struggling coming out of this, and help them create video that they can use on social. But you got to do it in a way that is affordable and efficient, and you got
Right.
to make it affordable and efficient for you as well. Because I mean, I give you an example. I mean, these interviews that I'm doing,
Mhm.
I take the full interview and I post that up on YouTube,
Mhm.
and that's the video, that's the long form video of the interview, right? Well, I take the audio and I put that on the podcast because I like to listen. So for
Me
me, I
too.
like to listen to books, right?
Yeah, that's what I do.
And so do other people. So, okay, great. Let me take the audio from this, put it on there, and hopefully somebody can learn from that. And then
Mhm.
the other part is uh, I'm taking clips from the interview. So like questions that I would ask you, and then your response or any type of insight that might come from our conversation. I take a clip, 2, 3, 4 minutes usually, and I make that something that I can share as a smaller clip, as a smaller brief of this. Because a lot of time, to listen to a 35 or 40 minute
Right.
interview we don't have time sometimes, right? And
Right.
then from that 3 to 4 minute clip, I'm taking and trying to get less than 60 seconds so that I can use those quick insights for social media posts, right?
Brilliant.
So boom, you post those on social media, you take the longer clip, that you get those up on the YouTube channel so people can like get the quick information and help them learn certain things.
Right.
And then you have the long form piece of this. And so I don't know, that's been working pretty well for me right now.
That's
And
great. Is it bringing you more business?
yeah, there's a couple things from it. Yes, I've gotten more business from it, number one, but number two, I have learned so much just talking to people.
Yeah.
And number three, I have gotten more relationships out of this whole thing than anything I've done in my 15 years of doing the wedding report. And I don't know why I didn't do this before, but I don't know. It just happened to like, this is what I'm doing in 2020. This is what came to me at the end of
Yeah.
last year. So
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad you're there. I like numbers too. I went back to business school about mid-career, and economics was my number one course, which I was afraid to even start taking it because of
yeah,
all the stories I heard. I drank it up. I love the numbers and the data and
yeah.
that sort of
I know. Me too. I love stats.
thing.
I'm not a math expert. I'll tell you that right now. But I love learning math, and I love learning stats, and I love learning how those things work. I love looking at data and trying to figure out patterns and correlations. I have a pretty good sense of looking at things and discovering trends without doing too much more than just looking
Right.
at it. But I don't know. That's just my. That's. I mean, you might come by my desk one day and you'll see my screen full of a bunch of data and
Yeah.
spreadsheets and stuff. And you go, what the hell's this guy doing? I'm like, I'm looking for patterns.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. You're a bit of a scientist.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. My wife
Yeah.
thinks I'm crazy.
So what are your predictions for the next year on data you've seen? What should people?
So just, just from a number of weddings perspective, I'm seeing, probably this year we'll lose about 27 to 32% of weddings that we would normally. So it's 2.2 million roughly. So we'll lose up, 600,000 of those this year, unfortunately. But I think we'll have a surge coming next year,
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
because people are rescheduling and all that stuff that's happening. So I think you'll see a surge. You'll still lose some, but I think the surge will probably be around 500,000 or so. The spending part of it, I'm not sure yet because I need to understand. I don't think we know what the economics are. There's nothing you can model this to because nothing outside of maybe 9/11 or the Spanish flu and 1918 comes close to this.
Yeah, I haven't
So
looked at the Spanish flu yet. How long did it take for people to recover from that? I
I
mean,
don't know. I need to go
different
do
time.
some research. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different time altogether. Now we've got all the technology and the science
Yeah.
stuff. And,
So I think we'll probably recover faster because of what we have today, where we are as a society, because back then things were much different.
right.
Um, but it would be interesting to see uh, what the economic impact was to businesses, just so you can kind of look and see, okay, well, is there something that's relevant to that's relevant to today that could have that impact?
Right.
Honestly, I think people are already under a lot of pressure financially for lifestyle. Whatever their lifestyle is. Yeah, there are people that are doing very well, right? But there's a lot of people that aren't doing very well,
Yeah.
and they still live with their parents. They're still going. They have a mount. There's a couple things that we have going against us.
Mhm.
Student loan debt is higher than it's ever been in our history. Auto loan debt is higher than it's ever been in our history. Corporate debt is higher than it's ever been in our history. So with the pressures of what's happening today and all of those mounting debts, that's going to put a lot of pressure on people to either go out, I mean, just be done, right? Or try to work through that. So then you have lifestyle information, or you have lifestyle stuff. My rent, my mortgage, my utilities, and then my ability to buy food and clothing and all those things that you just need to go day to day. Childcare expenses, you name it, right? Cell phone bills, right? I mean, internet connectivity, right? All of those things just continue to add up, So the economic impact from a spending perspective, I think, is going to be substantial. And in '08, from '07 to '09, we lost probably 15% of spending. So 10 to 15%, the amount people spent on their wedding dropped by about 10 or 15%. In 2010, it came back up a little bit. So we're probably at least looking at a couple of years of decline in spending, and then there'll be a surge for maybe what they would call pent up demand. And then it would flatten out and then kind of come down a little bit. Like it's been coming down actually for the past couple of years.
Do you think that has something to do with the millennials? I mean, I think I kind of got a feeling from things I've heard is that they really would rather put more money into the party with the kids, the friends, than to spend a whole bunch on all the other things.
It's about experience for them.
Yeah,
So it's the location, it's the food, and it's the party more than it is, all of the other peripheral stuff that you would do for a wedding, right? Those things aren't as important. And so, if you talk to millennials, there's different things that are important to them, right? Some it's the food, some photography, some it's the food and the location, some it's just the booze and the party, right? I mean, everybody has their own thing that's important to them. So, but I think this puts even more pressure on experience providing a good experience, right? They want an experience, and what are they willing to do? Maybe the
Yeah.
guest counts come down further. Um, we'll see. I don't know. I'd really like to understand the economic impact today, but I don't have enough data, and there's not enough information to really kind of uh, figure that out yet.
Yeah, being a storyteller, that's become storytelling has become a buzzword out there. When I
Yeah,
chose that name, I promise you, there was nobody talking. Everybody was an artist, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's changed, and now, I mean, I think it's in some ways it's watered down what I'm doing. I'm hoping that the fact that I actually have the name Storytellers, I actually was, a journalist, news reporter, that kind of a thing, that perhaps that may help. But I don't know.
Well,
Do you
that's
think
always going
that's
to
one of
be a
those
good word.
intangible things that they want?
Yeah.
The newer couples.
Yeah. Well, I think what you were talking about, like the love story,
Mhm.
is a great thing to be thinking about, like versus the, like an engagement session, right? But you're telling the love
Right.
story of how they met and what that I think that
Right.
would be great.
With
There's
video and
so many
B-roll.
ways you could do that now, Don. I mean, you could, yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks. I gotta get humming on it now.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit more about business
Okay.
stuff. So for you, prior to what's happening today, what would you say are the things that were working for you well, working well for you?
Well, I think a lot of old school things were working for me at that point in time. Building the relationships, taking someone out to lunch, learning about their business, and helping, just doing little things to help them grow their business. I have been fortunate enough to see a lot of businesses
Yeah,
and own a few, and so I've lost money. That's worth something. I've made money. That's worth something.
yeah,
So, and I think when I have those opportunities, it really does help the person I'm talking with, but it also helps our relationship, so that when they do have a couple or something, they will say, "Hey, you really need to talk with Don because he's going to take good care of
that's good. That's good.
you." Yeah.
Prior to this situation we have today, what would you say have been your biggest challenges?
Staying up with technology, figuring out what was real and what was a bunch of hype online.
Yeah,
Of course, everything that's said on the internet is true, right?
of course.
I've spent so much time and so much money, and I'm basically an extroverted introvert. Give me a book, send me to the woods. I'm a happy camper. So it takes a lot to get me up to go out there. So that's probably been the toughest thing for me. If I've got, oh, gee, I can study something else online, or I can get this course or whatever. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it's probably worth something if I use it, but that's the toughest thing for me, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Just getting out there and doing it.
Yep. And then what would you say, like as a business owner, what advice would you give other business owners if you had to give them one piece of advice?
Oh gosh, buy low, sell high. That's an old adage. Do something you really love and are passionate about that you would do even if you weren't getting paid for it. Uh, that's a really good place to start. But then I really think, and I've gotten more lax about it over the years than I should, because particularly back when I was in business school and all that, I was really watching the numbers. And I've become more of a risk taker over time, but they're pretty much calculated risks, and most of the time it works, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I think watch your numbers, know your numbers, and I've always been fortunate enough to kind of see things 6 months to a year before everybody else in my market sees it. Don't know why, but it's just,
Yeah.
sometimes I wish I'd moved on it. I did when I
Yeah.
didn't,
Yeah. Yeah.
then somebody else comes up and I go, dang, I should have done it.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing for me is being an entrepreneur. I'm like everywhere. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to stay focused. And so right now I'm working on reworking some rebranding, the business model, and I'm trying to keep it down to a sheet or two, instead of a
Yeah.
full blown business.
Yeah. Try it. Yeah. Though you don't want to make it
Keep it
complicated. You want to make
simple.
it as simple as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want it so simple that I can go to the guys that work with me and say, hey, let's do this, step one, step two, step three,
Yeah.
and do it over and over and over.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will stick. So
Yeah.
I guess that's the most wisdom I can offer at this point. I've chased every fad you can think of. I'm
I
sure I've
got
lost
you.
a bunch of time and money with it. So
Yeah. All right. So last question, Don. What's your best or worst wedding story you got for me?
mm. Worst wedding story, real quickly. It's a real quick story. Is trying to help a friend for a really good price, and then the bride just going crazy. I mean, bridezilla on me,
Wow.
and I'm like the nicest guy, and I gave, but turned out she hated the guy and didn't want to get married.
Oh, wow.
Was in too deep and couldn't get out. That
Oh
kind
man,
of
that
thing.
sucked.
That was bad. It just killed a relationship totally. But and the best story was I had a bride, and she's still my favorite bride all the time. She came to me, and we got to just kind of talking, and we both like the Father of the Bride movie, right? I like
Yep.
romantic comedies, and
Yeah.
anyway, we got to talking about that. It was her favorite show. She'd watched it with her dad over and over and over, and I'm thinking, okay, her dad is a CEO of a company. I can't see this. So I really kind of pressed her on it.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Wow.
Sure enough. We got to talking. Okay, what if we could actually make your wedding look like the father of the bride? Oh, she was like so excited and everything. And we just had the best time doing that. My editor at the time was really, really good. We found the actual fonts that were used in the opening and closing credits and everything. And we had her dad. He memorized Steve Martin's lines,
Oh wow.
and we set him up. We do the whole lead up. It's after the wedding, and the presents are all open, stuff's all over the floor, and the rice is on the floor, and this kind of stuff. And we're just kind of, slowly tracking around the room, and then we lead up, and there he is in his tux, and he looks dead tired.
Mm-hmm.
And he leans in, I'm the father of the bride, or whatever the lines were that he said, and he played it to the T. Except for
Wow.
he looked more like a mafioso.
Yeah.
Oh, so anyway, and I mean, it was so cool. And he takes off his shoes just like Steve Martin did. He dumps see, we just had a wedding, and the rice falls out of his shoe. It was just great. It was priceless. She loved that thing. And I think that's one of the most fun times. It was like producing a little mini film.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we still told the story. It was one of these, the whole family was really articulate. They had the best toast, the best dances, and everything. It was just fabulous.
That's awesome. That's a great
I
story.
can't put it up online because of music rights, but
Right.
it was just wonderful. So
Yeah.
it was a great time.
That's
I wish
awesome.
they were all that way.
Yeah, I know, right? Great story. Don,
You.
thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.
You too. Stay
All right.
safe.
All right. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. I hope that you found it helpful. Please share it with other people. Also, if you're getting married or you work in the wedding industry, I would love to interview and share your information with other people. Send me a text, 520-399-8580, or shoot me an email at letschat@wedding.report.